My first guest tonight, she can make you lose weight, give up smoking and gain confidence. She's also recently been named Young Businesswoman of the Year. Please welcome Katie Jane Goldin. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great, thanks.
Good.
So before we talk about you, maybe we talk about your dad, because Goldin is an unusual name and people will be thinking you are Paul Goldin's daughter.
Yeah.
For people who don't remember, obviously he was a big star when I was growing up. Just explain who he was.
My dad was an amazing man. He really, really was. He was a huge sensation all over the world. He toured America, China, India, and then he came back to Ireland and became one of Ireland's household names, made his name as one of the world's greatest hypnotists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so apart from the showmanship and all that kind of thing, he kind of used to make people think they were leprechauns in the audience.
He did, yeah. There's so many great stories about my dad. He had huge charisma. He had such a big personality that he'd fill a room with his personality. He had such a presence, and there's so many great stories. Like one story that I remember, a guy actually told me it only recently, that years ago he was on stage with my dad. It was actually in the Cork Opera House, and after the show he went to the local shop and he was caught attempting to steal a bag of peanuts, and the guards were called down to the shop and they asked him the questions, and he said, "Oh, I had to steal the peanuts for my leprechaun." And the police were like, "Your leprechaun? By any chance were you at Paul Goldin's show?" And coincidentally the police had also been, or the guards had also been to my dad's show that same week. Luckily.
Yeah.
So they let him away with it, but they said that absolutely no way was he ever to get on stage with Paul Goldin ever
so
again.
Did your dad forgot to unleprechaun that guy before he sent him out to the streets?
He was a bit of a messer, so he kind of used to finish his show that way.
He'd leave the odd thing hanging.
He'd leave the odd thing hanging, see what happened.
But there was a serious side to him as well, because he got into hypnosis when he was studying psychology, and he ran a clinic, and he'd help people basically give up cigarettes and lose weight and all that kind of thing.
So many different issues he would have dealt with in the clinic, and the clinic is 50 years in business this year because he had clinics all over the world, again in Las Vegas and Hawaii, and then he came back here and he set up the clinic in Ireland when he met my mom, and the clinic was actually in our house when I was growing up. We lived upstairs and the clinic was downstairs, so I was exposed to hypnosis my whole life. That's all I ever knew.
So would you have picked up a bit of it?
Absolutely. I mean, because the clinic was in our house, I'd see people coming in and out of the clinic all the time for different issues, and some of my first memories was I remember being about 2 or 3 years old and seeing my father click his fingers and somebody go into a state of hypnosis. So for me that was normal. Okay, that's all I knew.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then when did you start learning it yourself?
I was picking it up all the time. My dad always used to talk about his clients over the dinner table and different techniques that he would teach us. And
he didn't say anything about me, did he?
Oh, well, just that one time. No, I'm joking. But the very first time I hypnotised somebody, I was only 8 years old.
Wow.
I know, my dad was doing a 16-week run in the Olympia at the time, and which was unheard of actually to do a run that long. And every night when he was working in Dublin, I'd get to go to the show, because when I was younger he was on tour a good bit, so when he was working here it was great to get to spend time with him and watch him in the show. And my dad would always start the show the same way. I don't know if you ever saw the show, but he would always ask them. Did you? Yeah. He would always get the audience to put their hands together, and he would lock their hands, and then he would lock their eyes, and he would tell them that they couldn't move or walk. And I was 8, and during the day I was going to summer camp, and I decided it would be a great idea to play Daddy's show. So I set up all the chairs one day in summer camp, and the kids were going to be my audience, and I of course was going to play my dad. And I did exactly what I'd seen him do 100 times before. I got the kids to put their hands together. I told them that they were going to be locked, that their eyes were going to get locked, and that they couldn't move. And I think to my own surprise, more than anyone else's, it actually worked. But the problem was, I didn't know what came next. I couldn't get them out of it. So there was panic, I was crying, the kids were crying, the teachers were going crazy. My dad came down to the school, he had to be called down in an emergency, and he sorted it all out, he relaxed all the kids. But that's when the rules started in our house.
Yeah, it's kind of dangerous to know a little bit of hypnosis, I'd say.
Yeah.
So the rules were, I presume, Katie Jane is not allowed to hypnotise anyone.
Well, the rules were no hypnotising in the house, because it's not fair on my mum. No hypnotising your school friends. I'd already done that, so I wasn't going to do that again. And definitely no hypnotising your teachers.
Yeah. We had similar rules in my house.
Did you?
Roughly something like that.
Give me an A as a teacher.
So tell me then, so you took over the clinic then when you were just 24, yeah?
24, yeah.
So did you learn techniques from your dad, or do you think that your dad kind of had a gift and that gift passed down to you? Or
You know, I think in this life anybody can learn anything, I really do. However, for me, I saw hypnosis growing up all the time. I was exposed to it all the time, and I do think my dad had a gift or a natural talent, and I feel that I do too, I suppose, because it just comes naturally to me.
Okay, but there's nothing, you don't think there's anything supernatural about it as such?
Not necessarily, it's just something that I can do.
Right.
You know, it's funny, I can't even explain it. I can't explain how to do it, I just know. It's something I've just always known.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Come here, when did your dad die?
He died in 2008.
And now, the funny thing is, you've kind of been in contact with him since, is that right?
Well, I mean, it was a very difficult time when he died. I was really close to my dad. I lived at home. I worked in the clinic every day since I was 16, part-time since I was 16. And it was very hard when he died because it was sudden, and he went into hospital, and 3 weeks later he was gone. And I found it very hard. So I contacted a medium. That's I think what you're mentioning. My dad had always said, and he believed, and everyone's entitled to their own beliefs, but he believed that there was another phase of consciousness after this, that you can't grow and learn and accumulate all this knowledge as you get older for it to just end, that this life, he said, is like the university for what comes next. So I was searching for whatever came next anyway that I could to communicate with my dad, I suppose, because I missed him a lot. It was very hard, and I did. I actually saw a show on RTE. It was the afternoon show, and there was this woman on. Her name was Margaret Herdman, and it was very interesting. And after the show ended, I Googled her, and I found her number, and I called her, and I called her off a private number. So there was no way she could have known who we were, who the family was, my dad, anybody. Yeah. And she told me things. She told me things that she couldn't possibly have known. And she told me my dad's name. She spelled it out. She told me a lot of other personal family names and different things. And then she also said something, that there was something funny about the name Gold. Or she didn't say the name. She said there was something funny about gold, about the colour gold. And she couldn't quite work it out whether it was or it wasn't. And obviously our name is Gold, but a lot of people would have known my father as Paul Goldin, but legally our name is actually Gold. So there was always a bit of confusion around that.
All right, so you think she was in touch with him?
Yeah. Okay. For me it was good.
So listen, the stuff you see now in the clinic, obviously there's still the traditional kind of the weight loss and giving up fags and all that. You're seeing some kind of new 21st century kind of problems as well now.
I call them new age issues, I suppose, because my dad would never have seen them. Addictions to Facebook, addictions to social media, addictions to gaming are becoming huge. Obviously we still get the usual problems as well. But
so do people come to you and say, I think I'm addicted to Facebook?
Yeah, I mean, we would get parents bringing in their teenagers sometimes addicted to Facebook or social media. They're at the dinner table and their kids are constantly on Facebook or social media, or
and
you
of course
might
you
get...
can't hit them anymore, so you bring them to hypnosis. And what's the process then with a kid like that? What do you do with them?
Well, it's hypnotherapy. So hypnotherapy is a deep state of relaxation where we go into the subconscious part of the mind and change the way they think. Because at the end of the day, it's a habit. It's a habit that they're doing, and it's about changing those thought patterns.
Okay. And like so like how long would it take?
For something like that, it would be a number of sessions. Smoking is just one session, but everything else would be a number of sessions.
And what would your success rate with people?
Very high 90s. I mean, we're in business, like my dad was 50 years.
High 90s, so practically everyone basically that comes.
Do you know what? If you want to change, if you're being dragged in, it's a different story.
Okay.
But if you want to change, then yeah.
Do the kids addicted to Facebook want to change? You got to wonder.
I think they realise, obviously, if their parents are bringing them in, there's something going on.
Yeah, I guess. There's a fiancé too, Barry.
There is,
You hypnotise him as well, yes?
Well, we're engaged now, and I had to. We were together 7 years. The only way to get him to marry me was to hypnotise him. I had to do something.
Yeah.
But sometimes I get him to do the cooking and the cleaning. But
excellent.
Yeah. Well, when we first met, though, I did hypnotise him to stop smoking. He was a smoker.
Right. But you threw in some other stuff while you had him under as well.
Why not? But there was no way I could have gone out with a smoker, and there was absolutely no way I could have introduced a smoker to my dad. Can you imagine? He would have gone mad.
Okay, so you had to change him.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, at least you're honest about it. Most women would claim, I wouldn't
He's
try and
gonna
change
kill
him at
me
all.
now,
I'll change him, I'll put him under and I'll change
And
him
I'll get
into
him
the
to
person I
marry
want
me.
him to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you hypnotise yourself as well, is that right?
Listen, it's self-hypnosis. If it works doing it to somebody else, then I do it for myself too. My dad used to hypnotise me.
Like in the mirror? Or?
No, it's all about the mind. It's all about the mind.
So is that kind of more like affirmations or something?
Yeah, affirmations and learning how to relax, because as you think, so you feel, and as you feel, your body responds. So if you think, you're more relaxed, then your body and your mind.
So what
are
you
relaxed.
hypnotise yourself for is to get yourself to relax more.
Relax, motivation, stress. I mean, everybody gets stressed. Life happens. So
Yeah.
it's about having the tools, I suppose, to deal with situations like that when they happen.
There's another thing I want to talk to you about as well, which is quite. I can see how it's quite close to the hypnosis, which is you've written a book about flirting as well.
I did, yeah.
And the techniques there and everything.
I wrote that a good few years ago now, because I
I'm
write
touching my hair now, can you see that?
Yeah.
And you're touching your hair.
Yeah, that's the
Right.
thing. That's called
I hope
mirroring.
I hope Barry is deep under at the moment, that he's not seeing what's going on here, because anyone
Yeah.
who knows about flirting would know this is hot stuff.
Yeah.
So what are we do hear about that touching hair is
That's a mirroring technique.
Okay.
So it's basically what it says. It's copying what the other person does. So you copy their body language, you copy their pace of breath, their tone of voice, and then they feel like they're on the same page as you. You're building a connection, a subconscious connection.
Okay.
And it really works.
So you just copy the person that you're looking at, and they will.
Subtly, maybe not OCT, but
Okay,
subtly.
okay. So you need a bit of practice on that. Listen, before you
Yeah.
go, you got the Young Businesswoman of the Year, and I think that was in large part as well for great lengths, which are hair extensions.
Hair extensions.
Yeah. Are you wearing hair extensions
Yeah,
now?
of course. Yeah.
Really?
We
So
actually
where's
do
your
them for
hair
men
end?
as well.
What?
We do them for men as well.
Really? Because I would
Yeah.
love. I have always wanted to have long blonde hair.
It'd be gorgeous on you. I know. We actually do it for volume now these days. And Steven
Okay.
Tyler from Aerosmith is one of our
Well, this
men.
particular program on a Saturday night, I don't need any volume in my hair, but there might be other programs
change
where
your
people
mind
need
anytime.
some work. So where do your hair? How short is your hair really?
My hair is actually the same length, but I get it for volume.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
Great length is
Because
amazing.
I'm noticing more and more in work and everything like that. Like a load of women are wearing these all the time. You don't know. You think they have.
Well, with great lengths, it looks so natural. And we're in 136 salons now around the country. And when I started, Great Lengths was actually under UK distribution. And when I came in, there were only 9 salons here, active salons on the ground. And in
so
2
you've
years,
been around, look into my eyes, look
that's
into my
it. I
eyes. You
hypnotised the
the great
country
lengths.
into wearing hair extensions.
Okay, lovely talking to you. Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank
Katie
you
Jane
very
Goldin.
much.